Okay,
Okay, you're good with
are we started?
Yep.
Okay. Good morning, it's 8:30 a.m. on October 31st. We're in the mayor's conference room on the fourth floor of the city county building. This is a special meeting of the Board of City Commissioners. If we can call the meeting to order by calling a roll.
Commissioner Rush.
Here.
Commissioner Zinker.
Here.
Commissioner Clary.
Here.
Commissioner Schmitz.
Here. We have one item on the agenda, and I believe, Gabe, you're gonna. With that,
Sure. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. The item we have today is a reimbursement agreement with New Star Pipeline Operating Partnership LP relating to our Century Avenue reconstruction project. That project goes from about Centennial Road out to Cost Drive where it ends, where the current road ends today. But then the extension of Century Avenue from Cost Drive out to 52nd, as well as then the extension of 52nd from Gold Drive down to Century, will cross an existing pipeline operated by New Star Pipeline. In our coordination with them from the very beginning, we've been working with them at a level of complications that New Star was recently purchased by another entity. So we kind of had to reset who we were talking to and reset some of those relationships and make sure that everyone knows what pipeline we're talking about and what city and state we're talking about. So we're back up to speed. And then the issue that we have is that when we crossed their pipeline, which was their first, obviously, they have some requirements, and some of those requirements are minimum fill. They like to have the roadways cross at 90-degree angles. They put forth those requirements and try to match as many of those as we can. We do have agreement on our layouts, but it's our layouts as we cross the road because we're crossing the road where we're keeping minimum fill on one side, on let's say the south side of the road, but where we're crossing them is on a hillside. And so on the crossing itself, we're filling 20 feet in excess on top of their pipeline just to put our road on kind of benched into the hillside. If their pipeline wouldn't have been there, we would have picked a profile that allowed us to cut the hill in half, like take a little bit of dirt from one side and place it on the other side and kind of balance. But in this situation, we had to stay almost on top of the hill to avoid impacting their pipeline by going through it. But even in doing that, they noted that the additional loading that we would be placing on their pipeline would require a relocation of their facility. The pipeline is constructed in the 1960s. And when they've done the load calculations of this extra material that would be placed on it, they've indicated that their pipeline would not be able to support the extra loading on top. And we really can't refute that. It's their pipeline, it's their utility. They have better knowledge of that than we do. So the agreement then would be to relocate their line, which does open up a couple of good opportunities. They'll lower the line a couple of feet, which means we can lower our road a couple of feet. So some of the reasons, some of the constraints that we had were to avoid hitting their pipeline. Well, they're going to lower it, so we can lower it to a greater degree now. Once we've kind of ripped the Band-Aid off, we can put it in a spot that works for them, works for us. But that is a reimbursable expense to them. So the agreement that we have on the agenda here today is that would pay New Star to relocate their facility and also pay downtime for the days that they're offline. So that's half of the expense just about. It's them not being able to move these refined petroleum products from the refinery out to the east. So they think it should be about a 3-day job. The agreement's approved today. They still are going through their side for their approvals. And we just want to make sure that we weren't the thing holding up the approvals because they'll try to have all this work done by July 1st of 2025. But as you would see in this agreement, they'll make reasonable efforts. And that just means that if for whatever reason of the fittings on the back order, and this doesn't get done until August or September, that would have an impact on our contractor as we would be delaying their work in this particular area. So if this agreement passes, we would then we would start the process officially with New Star relocating the facility. We would put language in our contract eventually that we will go out to bid for the reconstruction project, letting them know this utility that needs to be adjusted and what those terms are and how to work around it. And hopefully it doesn't really cause any delays to the Century Avenue project itself. So with that, I would take any questions. Just the red line here on the screen, just to give indication, is the New Star pipeline that crisscrosses a lot of our community. And this is our location that we'll be crossing into as part of this project. It was noted in the preliminary engineering, and we discussed this with the public, even in our public input meeting. But we were hoping that we could avoid impacting it, but that turned out to not be the case, and we will in fact have to impact it.
in the original, I mean, I realize we don't have final numbers, construction numbers yet anyway, but in your original budgeting for the project, how much of this was factored in, or is this all added on?
The original project had, I think it was $1 million and some change for this relocation. of what we thought it would be at that point. Now the new number is of 1.3 million, but it still is a 50% plus or minus estimate. I don't think it's ever going to be minus. I can't imagine that they're like, oh, this is.
No, but I just want to know if we had.
We had, yeah, we had,
I thought we did,
the
but
lion's share of this was known that it could be a thing, it was included in the budget. It's in our 2025 budget. We just hoped to not have to use it, but it's looking apparent that we will have to use that and a little more.
Even at interview time of the design team, we knew that this was gonna be.
yeah, I thought it was, but I was trying to recall.
Yeah.
And so, and plus this way, if somebody wants to listen to the meeting, they know.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead, Commissioner
I
Rich.
just have several questions. Thank you, Mayor. We don't know if there's too much weight on this roadway. They just say it is. I mean, they dig tunnels underneath the English Channel. New York City, they have tunnels where subways where they built skyscrapers on top of them. So now all of a sudden a road over the top of this pipe is too much weight.
Yeah, Mayor, Commissioners, Commissioner Rich, we would be in the same boat. I mean, if we have a deep fill situation where we cross the interstate with a sanitary sewer pipe, we put a casing pipe, a strong steel casing pipe. And then under that is what we put whatever our facility might be. When they cross the railroad with a pipeline, they would be putting in a casing pipe and then putting their steel pipe underneath that. When they put this in place in the 1960s, they buried it at 3 feet deep and called it good. And just whatever the terrain was of the pasture that they were carving through is the depth that's the depth and the alignment that they placed it. So to your point, we don't know. But I don't know if we would have an ability to tell them that it's not an impact when it is a 60-plus-year-old pipeline that.
Right. I'm just concerned that the city might be getting taken advantage of because we don't know. We have to trust them to do that. They propose to have the relocation done by July 1st, correct?
That's correct.
2025. Why is it we're here today and not at our next commission meeting deciding this? What's the urgency?
Mayor, Commissioners, the urgency comes from them needing to have this in their CapEx for 2024 because they are deciding which projects that they will fund, even if it's with someone else's money. They have an urgency to get this done as soon as possible. So it's in the pipeline to have work done in 2025. So it's a scenario that if we missed a timeline now, it might not just be a 2-week delay, it could be a year and 2-week delay because it just doesn't get into the hopper in their side. So we just took that as a cue to make sure that we could request a special meeting to get this accomplished as soon as possible so that we are not the ones holding up them because of our 2-week cadence of commission meetings.
The plus or minus 50%, that seems like a great big number to me. That's common, something like that?
Mayor, Commissioners, Commissioner Rich, I think at this point in time, the utility agreements themselves, they haven't bid it. They don't really know. They don't have their contractor lined up. So they don't really know what this will cost.
They're in the business. They're in the business, pipeline business.
Correct. And I would say even when we have a utility agreement with with CenturyLink or with MBU or Midco or any other of our local utilities that do work, we have the similar type language and they put together an estimate and we say, okay, we'll pay actual costs. Thanks for putting together a number that we can hopefully budget around, but the cost of doing the work is what it will actually end up being. So we do have risk on our side that we are not in control of that work. If it turns out being a 4-day job instead of a 3-day job, this will cost $100,000 plus more because that extra day of shutdown. We just don't have any control over those things and we're kind of at their mercy and a lot of that stuff.
In the $150,000 loss of use, there's no way for us to double check that, right?
Mayor, Commissioners, Commissioner Rich, I think they had a note of what their monthly revenues were, and I believe that's what it's based off of. And I, once again, am not in a position as a forensic auditor of their books or business process to check bad piece of it.
Well, I see the boring is $250,000 for 2 days. Maybe a boring is, you deal with that. Does that seem like a reasonable amount?
Mayor, Commissioners, Commissioner Rich, I mean, anytime you're bringing in a contractor that does that specialty work, if they're doing 300 feet or they're doing 400 feet or doing 200 feet, most of the cost is just getting that equipment there. And really, if you're going a little bit or a lot of it, that's almost secondary to the fact. So a lot of those costs are just built into the mobilization of that specialty crew and getting them on site. And then having them do the work is almost the second piece because this is what they do. It's just they're doing it 400 feet here and then they're going to go to that next job that's in some other state and it takes them time and money to hop up and relocate that part of those costs.
Seems like a lot of money.
That's government, unfortunately. I'll make a motion to approve.
First and second, do we have further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call roll.
Commissioner Zinker? Yes. Commissioner Clary,
Yes.
Commissioner Rish,
Yes.
Mayor Schneider.
Yes. That's our agenda. We stand adjourned. Thank you,
Where
everyone.
were you traveling?
We were at our place in Fort Myers for